Hey, welcome to this look at Sister-in-Law Part 4, page 7. Um, got the first image already rendered here, so I'm going to save it. Figured instead of starting off right away and showing nothing, I also have the second one set up, so I'm going to switch cameras. Camera 1. And actually, I'm going to open her mouth just a little bit more. Doesn't really look like she's talking, so I was initially going to kind of put him in the living room like always and sort of doing another scene where Val walks in and uses the little ray gun on him, but I was thinking I haven't really done a size comparison in the garage in a while. And I think this size is probably the perfect size to do one if he gets any smaller. I think the next step it'll it, I can't see it looking quite as interesting, so to speak. I think it'll be like one of those things where he'll be kind of too small to really do a size comparison with the vehicles and everything. So it's like right now he's just a little shorter than the tire. Layer image size. So this is kind of like inspiring, I think, the idea for the next, probably this page and the next one, maybe. Um, it is going, right? Yeah, okay. Sort of instead of doing another scene of him sitting on the couch, sort of this is kind of inspiring me to have him just hide out in the garage to avoid Val. Invert shrink. Let's see. And in my head, as of the time I'm recording this, I think when I kind of started this part, I was really expecting to be closer to the end at this point in time. But, I think the scene in the bathtub ended up taking a full day. Hold on. Ended up taking a full day. Trying to get the water to look right, and like in my head, it's like no matter what I was doing, I just couldn't get it. I just couldn't get it to look how I wanted to. I sort of wasted almost a full day trying before like giving up and just accepting what it looked like. It's kind of the idea is I was trying to get it to reflect a little bit more, And just for some reason, like no matter how high I turned up the reflectivity, it just felt like there was nothing it was reflecting. It's not like I wanted it mirror quality, but you kind of wanted like a slight reflection in the water. And it just wouldn't do that. So that was like one day. And you know what? I can there we go. Oops. I think beyond that, um, in this part, it's been a lot of, it's been a lot more of those pictures that are taking a really long time to render. Whereas if I remember correctly, in the videos I was doing, in whatever videos I was doing for part 3, most of the pictures were rendering relative reasonably quick. I mean, they weren't like lightning fast, but they weren't taking so long that most of them weren't taking so long that it was driving me nuts. For some reason, in this part, I'm seeing that again. On the previous scene in the bedroom, one of them took almost a half hour. Whereas I'll show you how long this. We'll see how long this one took in a moment. So like this one with Val only took just shy of 6 minutes. And now that we've got I've got sort of the comparison shot I wanted. And you'll also note I've got the garage door open slightly so that he can get in and out. Because at this point he can't really open doors, so we don't want to trap him in the garage. But now I've got my comparison shot, so I'm gonna. Yeah. zoom in. Let's reset. Let's zoom out just a little bit. Kind of give some space, so to speak. This is 34. So I think one thing that, well, let me see. Let me get this before I go into that thought. I always start a thought when I'm about to distract myself. It's not like you're working for free. Select none. So one thing that so one thing about this project that's kind of, I think, probably a mistake I made that so far hasn't popped up is I think in the bedroom, it's sort of the decoration with the decorations on the wall using pictures a lot of the times. I've thrown together some family photos to put up around the house. In the bedroom, in the bedroom, there's pictures on the wall that include Toby, the little baby. Um, so it's kind of, while I've got no problem doing stories with children like Shrimp of the House, um, I think I've got no problem kind of pushing the envelope when it comes to realism. Uh, i.e., like having Jackson show off every now and then, or Alex, kind of wearing the tank tops to show off his arms. It's kind of, the line for me is, I think is putting underage characters in sort of directly in a situation that's kind of, that kind of goes into inappropriate. So as much as like the older boys in that series kind of like to show off and that sort of thing, it's it's a try and keep it appropriate, try to keep it only as far as realistic. So they'll never it's like well, now Alex is 18, so the issue is kind of gone. But it's while there's always been the speculation that Alex is sleeping with his girlfriends, that he's sexually active. It's like one of those things it was never showing, would never show. Um, and it's sort of similarly, I don't want to put the kids into any scenes with adults like that. So like you'll notice in the couple of times that Jackson is spying, kind of happens upon David and Liz's bedroom fun time. You'll notice like they're never, it's like they're not actually naked, they're not actually in the act. It's always like that, like innocent foreplay stuff that he walks into. Um, I think you look at it like Friends Forever, sort of the rare high school story in the muscle growth universe. Primarily because I like the story in that one is why I did that one. But it's the same thing. You notice they'll never be. You never see them, either of the kids, outside their underwear. Um, and it's well, I'm not really sure where I'm going beyond that thought, but I'll just cut that off there. Like you never see them. It's like I never go that far with them. All the flirtation with Chase, was it Chase's girlfriend there? Like it stays innocent. But the point I'm trying to get to, the point I'm trying to make, is sort of in that lines. Like it's where in this story I'm doing anything in the bedroom is basically X-rated sex and whatnot. It's like it kind of crosses that line for me if the picture, for the pictures of the baby to end up in the background. And I think thankfully all the angles have managed to avoid the pictures. Um, or I don't think it's. I don't think there are any angles where I've had to make the conscious decision to sort of alter an angle because of the pictures. And I guess in that respect, since the pictures, I don't know if the pictures ever show up even outside of a shot. I mean, there's always the possibility, like at this point in the story, I could just swap out the pictures and you'll never know. But it's sort of one of those things. When I was decorating the house, I wasn't thinking until I got going, and then it's like once I started shooting, it kind of became too late to swap out pictures. So I mean, it's there's what is it? I think one picture in the hallway is basically supposed to be just a wedding shot between these two. So I mean, I could have put that one in there, but I think by the time I started shooting, it was already. But by the time it occurred to me to move the pictures with Toby out of the bedroom, I think it already occurred to me that that picture had been sort of established. But like I said, I think thankfully it's been largely avoided, and I'll probably have to take another look early on. But now that I'm talking about it, but I think given that it struck me early in this process, I don't think there's anything that there shouldn't be anything that bothers me. Let's go file open as layer. So I kind of want to go on to something lighter. I'm like bringing myself down. But I guess it's in the same sort of in the same boat. Like with, I guess we'll continue down this rabbit hole after all. But, it's like in Friends Forever too. I think the abuse scene was one I struggled over. Oh, and I have a feeling. Nope. Okay. The sequence. I think the first time we see Rusty's dad, I think it was one of those things like I didn't. I don't want to glorify abuse like that. So it was like in my mind, I'm sort of struggling with sort of. Let's go back to camera one. It's struggling with, can I put it on the page to show sort of how bad Rusty's life is without it coming, without it sort of coming across as part of the fantasy in that story. Garage. This door. Okay. And I know you've got the poke through on the dress here. Kind of threatening to show her breasts. Um, I did turn off the breasts, so you won't. So you're not actually seeing any nudity. There's not going to be any nipple slips or anything like that. Anything that should violate, like YouTube's terms of services, uh, or Patreon's for that matter. I know these videos go public after a week, and they don't like showing nudity. You're not supposed to be showing nudity on Patreon on public posts. So just so anybody out there is wondering, like, oh my God, we're violating terms of services. I just want you to know those parts of the model that would potentially violate terms of services are turned off and invisible. But it's like in the ideas that I've got in my head, like the premises for possible stories that don't have stories to go with them yet. They could be possible vehicles for future projects. I think I've mentioned. Yeah, okay, let's take this one. Control C. I've sort of mentioned one premise a couple of times here and there throughout the videos I've done for different projects of sort of a guy from the near future going back in time to take his younger self away from an emotionally damaging family situation and bringing him to his time and sort of raising him without the trauma. And it's like the one thing I struggle with it is that it's basically child kidnapping. It's like no matter how I frame it's still at the end of the day, it's supporting a kidnapping situation. And I think if I ever use that premise, that's kind of something I have to figure out how to rework it so that we're not triggering Amber Alerts or whatever within this universe. Oh my God. Oops, understanding. Here we go. Often. Let's take this. But I think finally getting to a lighter note. Kind of still trying to work out the logistics of the setup for Shrimp of the House Vacation, the in the woods portion of the story. Because I think it's still a loose collection of things I want to do with it. And the question in my mind is how to sort of achieve everything, or which pieces are going to have to get sacrificed or compromised or whatever, because I think so. I think basically what I want to do is have multiple members of the family shrunk. Um, I almost like them separated so that they're dealing with different things, different issues, different challenges, whatever. But I'm not sure that that is so much important. I'm not sure if it would really add anything separating them versus having them deal with things collectively, as one group. I think also what I'd almost like to do is have um, someone unaware of it walks off with the size changer, and it's the whole point of the story is that they've got to make their way to the person who has the size changer, which more than likely would, which I think because Jackson's going to be the one that finds it and uses it, I think it kind of makes sense that somehow he's the character that stays normal and walks off with it. Um, and I have to say, like, it would have almost been interesting to have him accidentally shrink himself as well and put him in the group, because it seems like the more I think about it, the fewer characters I have that end up getting shrunk, or the pool of characters that could get shrunk gets smaller. So I think sort of along with this, I've mentioned it before that like in Recall, the movie about the giant ladybug is sort of is, is sort of foreshadowing something I want to do in this story in Vacation, with Aiden finding a ladybug and sort of wanting to keep it, and then the idea is sort of what I want to do is like, Jackson finds a discarded size changer and decides to have a little fun by making Aiden's ladybug kind of dog sized. So the kind of amusing thing would be that sort of so it's sort of like you get a dual story within the story that, like, while the small characters are trying to get to the size changer to restore themselves, you also at the same time have this oversized ladybug running around, in which case you'd kind of need normal size characters to make that interesting, to make that work. I'm gonna bring you down there. So I think for that reason, it would be interesting. It would almost be interesting to leave Aiden normal size, so that basically he's running around chasing the oversized. I don't want to say giant because that means that That kind of puts it in. That kind of implies it's going to be as big as in the horror movie that they were watching, but oversized. Oh, whoops! Hold on. I forgot about the camera. So it could be what it could end up doing. Is it? Is it? He's trying to kind of corral the ladybug. It wants to get away, and he's chasing it around, trying to keep it. That sort of sort of that sort of thing. How would this look as a wide shot? No, not doing it wide isn't going to add anything to this. So, so I think maybe having Jackson excluded from the shrinking group would avoid would sort of avoid having him answer the questions early on about what he's doing with the size changer and having to explain all that. It could almost sort of add maybe a slight bit of drama, like and mystery to sort of Liz and David. How did he get it? What's he doing with the size changer? How did he get it? I left it at home. You could almost have like this fight between them, like you could almost like the drama where David's accusing her of bringing it along secretly, and she's denying it, but he doesn't believe her. And I think maybe too, now that I'm thinking about it, it could be interesting if the group of shrunken characters actually, hold on, let me. If the group of shrunken characters just includes David, Liz, and Allison, let me go to perspective for a moment. Okay. It's kind of a pairing that we don't really see that much. And I think too, like, I've had Allison going through her like rebellious, angry, argumentative phase, and I'm kind of, and it's like I'm basically ready to kind of have her get over that to an extent. I've been kind of softening that stance a little bit. It could. I think it could be interesting having sort of her as the outside commentary to sort of David and Liz fighting half the time that they're trying to get to Jackson and the size changer. I get, like I said, going back a minute, I was sort of really hoping to have like two pairs of do split, but I don't really need to do that. So the question is, if I have Jackson excluded along with Aiden, then I got to start thinking about what is Jackson doing throughout. I don't really see him sort of helping Aiden to corral the ladybug. I sort of see it more as like he gives him this amusing pet and then just washes his hands of it. So does he just go back to the cabin and just kind of like lounge around lazily since nobody's there to tell him to go on a hike or something? Is it sort of similar to Alex in the Man Alone story that's going to follow, where sort of like they're on vacation, Jackson finds himself alone and just sort of and just takes advantage of it. Then the question becomes, how long does it end up being? And almost like I guess I should backtrack in case like this is the first video you've chosen to watch out of all of them, and you're sort of unaware of what I'm doing with the project. But the idea is that the next Shrimp of the House story, Vacation, is going to be another two stories in one, like the Xmas story was. The first part is the family minus Alex on vacation, staying in a cabin in the woods, while the second story is Alex unable to go with them because of his new job, is looking forward to enjoying, he's looking forward to enjoying the week alone, to having the house all to himself, that sort of thing, without the family around. It's a little better. Yeah, see, this is going to be like another 6-minute picture. When like the bedroom scenes, we're taking we're taking like 20 minutes, a half hour. Sheesh. So it's I'm thinking. So I'd almost like it to be, as far as length goes, I'd almost like each of the two stories to be 4 parts long, which would make this the longest Shrimp of the House volume at 8 parts total. But I'm not really married to that. I could totally see um, Alex's portion, Man Alone, come in at just 3 parts, sort of be a shorter story. Whoops. Because I'm not really sure yet if it's that strong to warrant 4 parts, 100 pages. And similarly, if I get on a roll, with the first story, In the Woods, you know what? Let's split this in the middle. I could potentially see that one going longer than 4 parts. And it's like I said, right now I'm just in the brainstorming phase, so I can't really comment with any certainty on it, but paste is new layer. Invert, shrink, invert, netted. File save. But I mean, like I said, if sort of the ideas just keep coming once I get into it. I can see myself having a lot of fun with it. What I'm gonna do now is oops, the wrong bone. Okay, we're gonna have to do this from here. Oops. Okay, I forgot to switch the cameras, which doesn't matter because this is going to be the last shot with the two cameras. So, also, since I'm not going to actually show her from within the car, I don't need her sitting perfectly in this. I think I can get away with. Okay. I really like the 1970s car here. Okay, that arm doesn't need to be, or that hand doesn't need to be wrapped around the steering wheel. Oh, shoot. Okay, I guess I gotta come back inside the car to do this. I'm not really happy with. So I don't need that hand wrapped around. Okay, I think we're getting closer. This might just be a matter of just shifting the hand. Oh yeah, okay, that's it. Oh boy. Hmm. shoot, I didn't see that head, so since, again, I don't need to see inside the car, I can just... Oops. I think I can have her sit lower, right? Yeah, see, this is... This is sort of one of those situations where, like, the scene doesn't have to be staged perfectly. All you have to do is stage what you're gonna see, and everything else is kind of irrelevant. Okay, so I think I've got her. Let's see, because that's about all I'm gonna see. Oops, I don't want to zoom out. So now that I get that straightened out, let's come in here and find the car. I'm gonna delete the key on the door. I think, oops. These front wheels. All wheels rotate. Oh. Okay, so now, let's see. I think this is structure, right? Garage door. Oh, that one. Okay. This one. No. Oh, shoot. Okay. So apparently these doors were never set up to work this way. So what I'm going to have to do is take the pieces of the door and hopefully, yes, that's what we do. Okay. Go back into here. And then I need to go yard. Put the yard back on. Let's go backgrounds. I think this is main. And let's see, this is the Z key. So if we just go, just pop this back. So go. And then it's got to come up, right? Actually, I think, nope, okay. Okay, so, yeah, this is a big setup. So I'm going to do is let's unparent the car just to make this easy. I'm going to parent Joe to the car. And then I can just kind of... Oh, shoot. Okay, that's not a big deal. Tilt the car this way. So it looks like she's backing out into the driveway. There. Hmm. Okay. So it's something I want to do with the car. I'm going to take care of this garage first. Furniture. Before I end up forgetting about this. Oops, this is door one. Before I forget about the handle, let's come in and... Since I got the handle as a separate property, I can just come into surfaces and then use the opacity parameter to make it invisible. But with the car, I kind of wanted to take the license plate off. Um, nothing against California. Um, it's kind of more I'd like to leave it open as to where these stories take place so that you can kind of imagine them wherever you want them to be. Geometry editor, and hopefully select connected. Shoot. Actually, maybe... Okay. Let's try the plate. Okay. Oops, I don't want you. Let's delete these keys. Okay. I'm going to put him back here. Okay, I got lots of room. Render. that's going to be it as far as text. I'm not going to put a text bubble there. Um, so I think then too, like, what I also want to do with Shrimp of the House Vacation is that when Jackson shrinks the rest of the family, it's going to be sort of like an unaware event. like, like he doesn't realize what he did. It's the idea is like it's probably the one time that he's not, playing a joke or sort of doing it maliciously. I'm sort of like what I'm sort of thinking out now is that he finds the size changer on the ground that who knows how long it's been there, who knows who discarded it. And I think because it's going to be like the new model I introduced at the end of Recall, he doesn't quite know what it is. He doesn't like quite know how it works differently than the other one. So I think the idea is he's going to play around with it, figuring out what it is, and he ends up activating it as sort of David, Liz, and Allison are sort of walking down the path a ways up, and the beam ends up hitting them and shrinks them. And like all the while, Jackson doesn't look up from the device, so he doesn't see it happening. And I think and I think that will get him to figure out, like, play. I think that way, like, he'll end up shrinking the family unaware, and then it's like that sequence. He'll like figure out the device and get a rudimentary idea of how it works. I think because like I think the idea is like he'll end up like shrinking rocks or a tree or something else other than just the family to to make him aware of how it works. So that way, like, then he can go off, and when he finds Aiden with the ladybug, he'll have an idea of how this new size changer works, at least enough to make the ladybug bigger. Yeah, actually, that would work. That would actually work for a flowing story. And I have to, I do have to say, I did pick up a couple of items off the Daz store in the last few days from a decent sale. Basically because I thought they'd be perfect for that story. I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna spoil what they are, but I think it's like I have been acquiring sort of different stuff specifically for that story in mind. Um, the only thing is, the only issue is that they use a plugin that sort of doesn't seem to be very stable, and in playing around, it seems like I keep crashing the program, DAZ Studios. So I think, since pretty much they're only going to be used for like one scene each, I'm hoping that sort of constant, frequent saving of the program and a little patience, I can get everything to work and do what I want. Because they really are nice items. And I sort of did actually get them to render in OpenGL, and they look good in OpenGL. I was nervous about that too. If it's up too high, it's not going to bother anything if I have to bring it down after cutting it. Um, One thing that's bothering me is I'd rather have you off the car. Okay, layer to image size. Image, flatten, and let's export. Oops. Shoot. Okay, so now let's come in here. We're going to dump all these into my folder. Book 4, pages. Let's ring this up. Sorry I'm working so much, but they're still short-handed at the diner. No problems. It's not like you're working for free. It's nice that you're so understanding. I just wish I could be home with you more often. Now make sure you're clear of the car. I wouldn't want to run you over while I'm leaving. So that's page 7. Um, this project is almost done, I swear. And then, I've been talking about Shrimp of the House Vacation, I think, in the last few videos. I'm honestly, at this point, I'm not sure if it's going to be the next one or not. Um, it's sort of, there's like something else in the works that may or may not be ready to go before, or not ready to go, but ready to be worked on. It may go in the pipeline before the next Shrimp of the House. Um, but if it's not ready to go, then Shrimp of the House Vacation will be the next one. But I will see you next time. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that.